Lucky is a new Steven Soderbergh film, which is his first film after his retirement of only 4 years. And even then, he's been directing TV episodes, so it's really not a retirement, and he's also have films planned to release next year and a couple years after, so it's not really a retirement, but whatever, he's back. And in this film, two brothers, Channing Tatum and Adam Driver, played the Logans, Jimmy Logan and Clyde Logan. They're very much so down on their luck. They believe in this family curse that they have, so they think that a lot of the bad things that happen to them, why they're not so wealthy, why Adam Driver is missing his arm from the Iraq War, why Channing Tatum can't see his daughter so much, is because of this Logan family curse. And after Channing Tatum loses his job, he decides, you know what, we're going to turn our luck right around, and we're going to try to rob NASCAR. So they enlist with the help of their sister, Riley Keough, and also Daniel Craig and a couple of his brothers to try to pull off this heist. I haven't seen a lot of Steven Soderbergh films, but the films I have seen from him are his Ocean's trilogy. And even though Ocean's 12 isn't that great, Ocean's 11 and Ocean's 13 I thought were really good, especially Ocean's 11. That film is probably the best heist film I've ever seen, honestly. It is so well done, so well directed and acted, so knowing that Soderbergh was going to take on another heist film, I was really curious to see how it was going to go, especially because from the trailers I got more of a Coen Brothers vibe than an actual Soderbergh vibe. And this film was relentlessly entertaining. From start to finish, I was fully engaged with the story, and I was really enjoying myself. One thing that really gets you attached to this is how they treat the character of Channing Tatum. The real emotional reason why he wants to do this heist is because of his daughter. You really do feel the connection he has with her, because you have this really cute opening scene where they're working on this car and talking about a song that's playing on the radio. Basically what that song kind of means to him, explaining it to her. It was a really cute moment, and it really did set the stage for why his character would do a lot of the things he does throughout the rest of the movie, and you really do understand that and you're on board with it throughout. And Channing Tatum's character is really the only one that has an emotional reason for really wanting to do this heist. The other characters are pretty much just in it for the money, but first of all, I'm okay with that because they worked out the main character's motivation, and second of all, as long as the characters are entertaining and I'm not annoyed by them and I don't think they're pointlessly there on screen, then I'm fine with them. And I was fine with them. I don't need an emotional backstory for every character. I don't need Daniel Craig to just stop his over-the-top performance and you do a crying scene where he's like, I need the money for blah 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 blah. You don't need to do that for every single character. If they're entertaining and you're enjoying them on screen, then that's actually fine, I think. And speaking of Daniel Craig, he was a scene stealer in this film. A lot of the humor in this movie is very deadpan, especially from Adam Driver. How Adam Driver and Channing Tatum kind of interact with each other was a little bit more deadpan humor, but it was really good. But I'm kind of more into a dry sense of humor, so seeing them do that in the movie, I was actually a really big fan of. But seeing Daniel Craig in this movie just completely let loose was such an awesome thing to see, because he's always been, you know, the classy James Bond type character, but now he's finally he's having a blast. Just letting go of that whole classy stuff. He's taking off the tuxedo. He plays the character Joe Bang, who blows up safe vaults and gets money. He's been in jail for a long time. He is a fun character. And I like the kind of balance of the comedic dialogue and just the regular dialogue. You have this kind of comedic style where it's like, okay, these guys, there's no way they can really pull off a bank heist, but then they have certain lines of dialogue that prove, okay, they may not be the best or smartest people out there, but they know enough in their specific field to where it's like, okay, it makes sense why you're this smart during this heist. Like at one point there's a scene where a couple characters are like, what are you doing? That's really stupid, but then that character explains the scientific reason as to why he's doing that, and it's like, oh, okay, that's smart. And there's a lot of things in the screenplay that are really smart, not just comedic dialogue and regular dialogue, but also how they focus on certain scenes that at first you might think, well, what was the point of that? But then as you continue watching the film, you're like, oh, this is tying into here, and that's gonna go into here. Okay, it's a one big perfect package. So if you were to watch the movie again, you could be like, okay, now I know that this is going to get into that later. That's pretty clever. And I just wanted to mention this guy quickly. Seth MacFarlane was a complete surprise to me. When I heard that he was in the cast, I was like, really? Is he going to be the odd man out? Is he going to be the jarring one? But he actually wasn't. He was actually really funny, and yes, it's him doing another voice, but at least it's a live-action role of his where he's actually good, unlike A Million Ways to Die in the West. He actually had me laughing a lot. In fact, I wanted to see kind of more of him. His name is like third in the trailer credits, and it's like, he's not that important of a character, but I still would have liked to see more of him. And speaking of these actors and how the credits are listed, I think a lot of people are going to be disappointed when they find out that certain actors they've pointed out really aren't in the movie a whole lot. Like, for example, Sebastian Stan. He was featured in the trailer and I was like, okay, what's he gonna do? And he really doesn't have a reason to be playing this role. I kind of just saw that more as like a Coen Brothers thing, like Hail Caesar, when they had Jonah Hill just show up for one scene, and it was just, they needed Jonah Hill, I guess. And it was just like they need someone famous to play this small role, but then they featured them in the trailer. So it's not really a fault with the actors or the characters or the movie itself, it's just more of a marketing fail that they did that. So I really have nothing bad to say about this cast except for one person, which I guess is where we're going to segue into our cons here. Hilary Swank. Now, she is a great actress. She has proven in the past that she is really great at what she does. This movie, however, she was really overdoing it. Like, just the way, like, her facial expressions worked and how she said lines of dialogue, I was like, oh, that is a little too much. It was a little awkward compared to what the other actors were doing, what the other characters were up to, and then you just cut to her just being completely, like, off with them. It wasn't completely in sync. She's the one weak link in the cast. Other flaws I had with this movie, this might sound like a nitpick, but there's a few instances throughout the movie where the editing felt really weird. There's a scene near the beginning where the edit, like, cut someone off from speaking, and it felt like the scene wasn't over yet, but they cut to another scene. And I was just like, that's a really jarring edit. And there's also one moment where I thought they left a blooper in. Like, after Channing Tatum says to his sister, we have code pink or something like that, she does like this adorable kind of squeal, but then she just kind of starts to laugh. And I thought I heard Channing Tatum go like kind of break character kind of thing. And I was like, was that a blooper? Did you want that in the movie? That feels really weird. Those two are the real big standouts as far as the editing goes. There's a couple other moments where I thought you could probably have snipped that right there. However, this is why I don't review movies right away, because as soon as I walked out of Logan Lucky, I was thinking those two that I just mentioned, those are my only two flaws, but as I thought about the movie more, was getting the pictures for this review, and just thinking about the movie in general, I was thinking, there's just one thing about this movie that feels missing. It feels like there was something missing. What is it? And I figured it out. It's that there really is no antagonist in the film. Now, this movie doesn't necessarily need an antagonist. I was still entertained no matter what my flaws were with the movie, but looking back on the movie, we know why the robbers are going after NASCAR's money. We know Channing Tatum, we know Adam Driver wanting to help out his brother, and we know Daniel Craig and his brothers, that's just what they do. Of course they do that. So we understand why they're all doing it, so of course we're rooting for them, but there's no other antagonist that knows about the heist or is suspicious about it, or that Channing Tatum is trying to stick it to or anything like that, so where you can be like, I want to root for these guys even more. There's no one to root against, so while you're watching this heist, it doesn't really feel like the stakes are at an all-time high, because it doesn't feel like there's a big force that's waiting to stop them at any point during it. So I feel like screenplay-wise, it was kind of lacking at that, and also this movie, I think a lot of people are saying it's the next Ocean's 11. It's really not. It's a very more simple version of Ocean's 11. In Ocean's 11, there's a couple twists and turns to where you're like, oh, I did not see that coming. That's a pretty good twist. And then in this movie, there's really only one to where you're like, okay, that was alright. There's nothing really surprising that's going to catch you off guard. So could Logan Lucky have been a better film? Absolutely. Could it have been a great Steven Soderbergh film? Of course, it could have been one of his best. But at the end of the day, I was entertained throughout. I was never really bored with the movie. So are those flaws really a huge hindrance on this film? I don't really think so. I'm going to give Logan Lucky a B. Steven Soderbergh, I think, did a pretty good job directing this film. There's a lot of great cinematography moments. The actors as well played their characters really well, and the humor works too. I think just screenplay-wise, this film could have been worked on a little bit more so that when you're watching it, you feel like the stakes are a little bit higher. And I think Hilary Swank really went in the wrong direction acting-wise, and some of the editing could have been fixed up. But other than that, if you're looking for a really fun movie, this might just be the movie for you. I can't say the same for everyone, because there really is a specific deadpan kind of sense of humor to it, but if you're into that kind of movie or you're willing to give this movie a chance, I'd say go check it out. It is a really good movie. I had a very good time. But if you've seen Logan Lucky, leave in the comments below of what you thought of it, and as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.